And now do the same thing with the Usui master symbol. Trace out the Usui master symbol above the top of the hands, guide it down through the hands, daikomyo, through the crown chakra, daikomyo, and plant it in the base of the brain, daikomyo. See, it becomes a little easier with practice. Now trace out a chokure above the hands and guide it down through the hands, chokure, through the crown chakra, chokure, plant it in the base of the brain, chokure. Now a sehe-ki above the hands. Trace out a sehe-ki above the hands. Guide it down through the hands, sehe-ki, through the crown chakra, sehe-ki, and plant it in the base of the brain, sehe-ki. Finally, trace out a Han-Sha-Ze Shonin above the top of the hands. Guide it down through the hands, Han-Sha-Ze Shonin, through the crown chakra, Han-Sha-Ze Shonin, and plant it in the base of the brain, Han-Sha-Ze Shonin. Now, place your hands around theirs again and guide their hands down back in front of their heart chakra. Move around front. Open their hands like a book, placing your non-symbol tracing hand underneath theirs. And with your symbol tracing hand, trace out a Tibetan daikomyo above the top of their hands.
Don't touch your hands in.
Pardon?
You said not to touch your hands, or you did? I thought you said...
In the space above their hands, and then guide the symbol in 3 times. And again, the last time you leave your hand touching theirs, building up a very strong visualization for being there until you know that it's going to stay. And then do the same thing with the serpent of fire. Trace out a serpent of fire above the top of their hands and guide it down into the hands. Serpent of fire, serpent of fire, serpent of fire. Saying its name each time you touch the hands. The final time, leaving your hands resting on theirs, visualizing it very, very strongly. And now again with a Usui daikomyo. Trace out a Usui daikomyo above the top of the hands. Guide it down into the hands 3 times, lightly touching the hands each time and saying its name each time. Daikomyo, daikomyo, daikomyo. The last time, leaving your hands gently touching theirs, with a very strong visualization that the symbol is planted. Now again with the chokure. Trace out a chokure above the top of the hands and guide it down into the hands. Chokure, chokure, chokure. And now sehe-ki. And finally, a Han-Sha-Ze Shonin. And one thing that I will say is that it is traditional to trace the symbols up flat. But you can do it however you like.
Like, at that angle. Show me flat.
Just flat like this, on top of the hand, rather than this space above. Okay, now leaving their hands open, you're going to plant all 6 symbols into the third eye. So begin with tracing a Tibetan master symbol in front of the third eye and guiding it in 3 times, daikomyo, daikomyo, daikomyo. And then a serpent of fire. And then a Usui-Tibetan. Then a Choku-rei. Seheki. And finally trace out a Hansha-ze shonin and guide it in 3 times, just like you have all the others. Hansha-ze shonin, Hansha-ze shonin, Hansha-ze shonin. Now close their hands up, bend down, and blow into the hands, then down, then up, then down, hands. Hands, root chakra, crown chakra, root chakra, hands. Maintain strong contact with their hands after you're done until that vortex is stabilized, and then move around back. Place your hands on their shoulders. Look down through their crown chakra, all the way down to the root chakra. And here you plant the following affirmation. You are a successful and confident Reiki master, teacher, and healer. Or something similar to that. Plant it 3 times. Strong and tight, just like you did for the elastic chain. Then slide your thumbs up the base of the brain where you planted the symbols. Visualize a Choku-rei in between your thumbs and their body. And white light very strongly. Now do a sealing affirmation, something like, I now seal this Master Teacher Attunement perfectly and completely in every way with divine love and light, and release you to the universe as a successful and confident Reiki Master Teacher and Healer. Again, building up a very strong image of a Choku-rei there. And slide your hands out back to the shoulders. And if the people on the chair, if your hands are getting tired, you can feel free to put them down. Now do your thank you. Thank everyone who helped you and assisted you with this attunement. And move around front. And do your finishing breath, releasing the Hui Yin point and the tongue in the roof of your mouth, channeling the energy out through your hands, intending it as a blessing for the person that you're attuning. And you can tell the person, open your eyes, stretch, stand up, we're on break, hallelujah.
Thank you for letting me practice.
Well, I think you need to do it. I just get to do it when I get back.
Okay.
Sit down, I want to show you something. Big springs. Not that forward.
Oh, not.
Is that what that's called?
I'll let her. I had a wrong place.
Distant attunement. Distant attunement and group attunement procedures and stuff like that, okay? Let's bust into this. Catch some munching faces. I agree, it's getting late. We passed dinner time a while back. I only give you the one break, so hopefully you load it up at lunch. I first started to research distance attunements in earnest probably the last time that I was out here in Colorado. And I took advantage of that lady, Jessica Saunders, that I mentioned earlier, who had the glyph thing going on at the same time. And I said, well, let's just see if this works. You know, I never really had any good cause for it or reason for it to use it, but I thought, what the heck. I went into the other room, and what I wound up discovering is that when you do an attunement at a distance using the surrogate method, that a very strong current of energy is bound between the people who receive the attunement. Almost like a group current is created. I thought that was really interesting. I certainly trust Jessica's clairvoyant abilities. So I did some follow-up research on people that I'm used to working with and found out that lo and behold, the same thing was true. So that puzzled me, so I got on the horn to Irving out in Oakwood, who's a fantastic guy to research all this with. And we spent probably 4 hours on the phone that night. And it turns out that he had wound up encountering a similar problem before. He does most of his attunements at a distance. And his Tibetan teacher gave him an attunement so that that wouldn't be a problem. And he said, well, he's never really given it to anybody else, but he's whispering in my ear, you know, that he'll give it to you now if you want it. Do you want it? And I said, of course I want it, you know. So he passed it on to me. The hitch here is I can't pass it on to you. Except for $10,000.
Oh.
So we obviously had to develop another way around it. Champagne, anyone?
Yeah.
So obviously I had to develop another way around this. So Irving and I looked at this process, and Irving came up with some very interesting observations that worked very, very well. Essentially, the Tibetan process that was given to him by his teacher is a consolidation of the process that I'm going to talk about right now. All of us have a level of consciousness and a specific sort of crystallized framework entity to deal with within that level of consciousness referred to as a solar angel. Most people refer to it as that sphere sort of just above your head, kind of. Now, what's lesser known than that is the fact that within every group there is a group solar angel, and the individual solar angels are linked into that. Ours is right there. If this group solar angel and your solar angels individually have a great deal of information processing that goes on other levels, and in fact facilitate our communication to large extents that we probably wouldn't be able to accomplish without them. So what Irving discovered is that this Tibetan crystallization attunement thing is essentially a way to deal with solar angels and not have to at all think about it. Sort of removing the intellectual process from it.
The process itself is rather simple. It involves generating the energy, either by symbol or whatever, and sending it out of the crown chakra, sending it out of your own crown chakra, and visualizing it going into the other person's crown chakra, which left this huge gap of, well, where does it, where does it get there and all that? Well, how it gets there is through that, solar angel distribution network. So, if you are so inclined to perform group attunements, in order to prevent establishing that group current, which can be linked to sort of a group karmic thing, but which I'm more linked to manifesting of similar patterns, a little bit more shared energy than you might want kind of thing, simply request the assistance of your solar angel and the group solar angel and all of the other solar angels of the individuals involved, and expressly explain to them what you want to do and what you're going to be doing. I mean, if it's a Reiki 3 attunement, then tell them it's a Reiki 3 attunement. If it's another energetic process, then tell them it's another energetic process. Spell it out for them and ask for their help. And it's every bit as effective as the simpler method that Irving and I typically use. And I have been shunning, I'm not sure how TK feels about this necessarily, because I'm a Tibetan teacher, but I've been shunning sort of that attunement and that shortened process that I got that night in order to test out this validity as I go around. And I've been honing it here and there. What I've discovered is that it's not as effective